Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was a man who captured the imagination of a nation. He stepped onto Pakistan's political stage with great energy and charm. Born into a wealthy landowning family, he had the best education the world could offer. He studied at universities in California and Oxford. He studied law and political science. This knowledge gave him a sharp mind and a powerful way with words. When he returned to Pakistan, he was ready to make his mark. He was young, ambitious, and full of ideas for his country. People saw in him a hope for a new and better future. His journey into the heart of Pakistani politics began under the wing of a military ruler, Ayub Khan. Bhutto served as a minister in Khan's government for several years. He learned how power worked from the inside. He saw how decisions were made and how leaders controlled the country. When Bhutto came to power in December 1971, Pakistan was at its lowest point. The country had just lost a war, and with it, half of its population. The national spirit was crushed. The economy was in shambles. The military was now viewed with anger and shame. Bhutto faced the monumental task of restoring hope and stability. His first major challenge was securing the release of over 90,000 POWs. One of his earliest successes, the Simla Agreement, a diplomatic masterstroke. He negotiated the return of the POWs and won the withdrawal of Indian troops from Pakistani territory without formally recognizing the new Kashmir border. The achievement boosted his image as a strong leader. He turned military defeat into diplomatic victory. Back home, Bhutto launched ambitious reforms. He aimed to change the fabric of Pakistani society, nationalized major industries, banks, and insurance companies, seeking to break the power of a few wealthy families and redistribute wealth more equitably. He introduced land reforms, limits on land ownership, surplus land to the landless, but the changes created problems. Nationalization was rushed, critics say without planning. Private investment stalled, growth slowed, and powerful landlords found ways around the laws. Bhutto's leadership was a unique mix of populism and authoritarianism. He was a man of the people, able to make the masses feel heard and valued, yet he demanded absolute loyalty. At the same time, he did not tolerate dissent, especially from within his own circle. He wanted to be the sole source of power and authority in the country. This dual nature defined his rule. He governed with a strong hand. To consolidate power, he put key institutions under firm control. He believed a strong center was necessary for reforms, often bypassing democratic processes. Decisions were made by him and a small cadre of trusted aides. Debate in parliament waned. Those who disagreed, former allies and friends, were sidelined, removed, or worse. This created an atmosphere of fear and conformity. A defining example, the Federal Security Force, or FSF, a paramilitary force answering directly to him, not the regular police or army. Created for law and order, it soon became known as Bhutto's private army, accused of intimidating, harassing, and even attacking political opponents, breaking up opposition rallies, and silencing critics. This concentration of power weakened parliament and the judiciary. Institutions became rubber stamps. His style set a precedent. A charismatic leader could bend rules and centralize authority in the people's name. One cannot look at the dictatorships that followed Bhutto without seeing the shadow of his own rule. History in our land tends to repeat itself. Though civilian and elected, he often governed with the authoritarian impulses later seen in military rulers. He centralized power so completely that he inadvertently created a blueprint for them: how to control the state, the media, and the opposition. General Zia-ul-Haq, who overthrew Bhutto, watched him closely, learning as a student would. Bhutto used the language of socialism to justify actions and rally support. Zia did the same, using the ideology of Islam. Bhutto amended the constitution to strengthen his office. Zia later used that same constitution, with his own amendments, to give himself absolute power. The tools Bhutto forged became an instruction manual for those who seized power illegally. Trying to control the army, he promoted officers he thought loyal, choosing Zia over seniors. This politicizing of appointments backfired spectacularly. It taught the military they were seen as political tools, deepening their involvement and making intervention more likely. Whenever they felt their institutional interests threatened, the path to intervention was clear. During his time in office, Bhutto's government passed several laws and constitutional amendments that concentrated immense power in the prime minister. The 1973 Constitution, landmark parliamentary, also held provisions easy to exploit. Bhutto ensured the PM's office was extremely powerful. Perhaps too powerful. It became very difficult for parliament to remove a prime minister, weakening accountability. A clear example, the Fourth Amendment. It took away the court's power to grant bail under preventive detention laws, letting government arrest and hold opponents without fear of release. A blow to judicial independence and a violation of individual liberties. A tool to suppress dissent. When Zia came to power, he found such tools ready and used similar tactics to imprison thousands. Another move. The Second Amendment, declaring the Ahmadiyya community to be non-Muslims, passed under pressure from religious parties. It set a dangerous precedent that the state could legislate faith and identity, opening the door to religion as a political weapon. Zia built a regime on Islamization. Bhutto's decisions, made for political convenience, had long-term consequences, fueling extremism and empowering dictators. While Bhutto's actions were significant, it is too simple to lay all blame at his feet. Pakistan's drift toward authoritarianism is a complex story with many actors. A feudal mindset treated power as personal possession, not public trust. Leaders expected to be strongmen, not consensus builders. Bhutto was as much a product of this culture as a shaper of it. The military already played an outsized role, ruling directly under Ayub Khan. Their self-appointed guardianship did not fade with Bhutto's election. Always waiting in the wings, the generals judged the civilian government. Bhutto's later years saw chaos and polarization, an excuse to save the country. The Pakistan National Alliance refused election results, paralyzing the state with protests and courting a coup. Global powers prioritized strategy over democracy, often turning a blind eye to authoritarian rule, creating an environment where coups drew little condemnation. Dictatorship in Pakistan is not the story of one man, but a web of internal weaknesses and external pressures. The tangle tightened as institutions weakened and incentives rewarded force over compromise. In the end, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto remains one of the most polarizing figures in Pakistan's history. A brilliant and complex man who inspired millions with a vision of justice and equality. He gave a voice to the poor and disenfranchised. He restored pride and gave the nation parts of his legacy that cannot be denied. Supporters remember him as a martyr for democracy, the father of Pakistan's nuclear program, and a champion of the common man. Yet there is a darker side, a centralized style that crushed dissent and weakened democracy. He forged tools of control and legal precedents later used with devastating effect by the dictatorship that overthrew him. In seeking absolute power to do good, he paved a road others followed for darker purposes. His story teaches that the means matter as much as the ends. Shortcuts and silenced critics can destroy the system that empowers the people. A charismatic populist can, unintentionally, prepare ground for a tyrant. Was he architect of future dictatorships, or a casualty of a flawed system? Perhaps the truth lies between.